Dawg079 cartel, you already know what it is, bitch. What up, what up, what up? Y'all already know what time it is, man. Welcome back to How I See It with your boy Big Dawg079. You know what I'm saying? And today gonna be a little different because we're gonna talk about something that's really, really important and, in my opinion, critical. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about, ironic enough, we're gonna talk about critical race theory today. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing that I would encourage anybody to do is some research, man. Just put it in the Google search bar. Just put in the Google search bar critical race theory, what it is, and why is it such a big drawback for that? You know what I'm saying? I'll take my hat off. I just want y'all to see I had a hat with my name on it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna take it off though. So the issue with it all is that they started in Florida and other places. It was being taught in the schools, which is basically, in layman's terms, what I would say critical race theory is. It's black history, it's indigenous history, it's the history of anybody who's not original descendant of the United States. You know what I'm saying? So in schools, they would be talking about the transatlantic slave trade, the way the African Americans originally arrived over into this country, the relationship between the Native Americans and the Pilgrims. All of that stuff should be being taught in school, not for a reason to create a hate or to create a separatism, but for a historical context. Because when you push to say, like, I watched a couple of politicians, and they was giving their reasons for why they didn't believe that critical race theory was something that was healthy for the United States or even conducive for kids to even be knowing that. Like, don't put that in the schools because that's just racism. That's bigotry. That's the same thing as the Ku Klux Klan did. All right, so you acknowledge the Ku Klux Klan. But we can't talk about them? It's all I'm saying. Like, our history is directly tied into one another. You saying don't tell my story because it might make you look bad. Shouldn't have did what you did. That's the best thing I can tell you. But don't tell me to keep my mouth shut because it may cast a dark shadow over the country. The country got a dark history. I'm pausing for emphatic effect, not because I don't know what the next word is I want to say. When you do independent research, or you take, because like I'm older, like I'm a grown ass man. So when I was in elementary school, you feel me? You was taught about Christopher Addicks, Benjamin Banneker, Martin Luther King, obviously, because he was passive. So most of the images and things that we was taught in terms of identification as a black youth was passivity, acceptance of violence. And I'm not encouraging something other than that. I'm just like giving you a context for that. So then when you get out of that and you look at the kids now, like they don't even get taught that much. So you got a race of people that don't even know nothing about themselves. The only information that's readily available to them is whatever they can get through rap music. So now every little black kid or every little minority kid in America think that that's what their identity is, because it's easier to access this music and hear these stories than it is to find out about where I came from. Like, I shouldn't talk about the fact that, like, for me, for instance, my grandmother named Jessie Miller. My great-grandmother name is Savannah Whitfield. My great-grandmother was a slave. So I'm assuming my great-great-grandmother was nothing more or less than a slave. When I encounter people and I have to tell them my story go back that far. Because I didn't start with me. They existed for me to exist. You understand what I'm saying? So I have to be able to tell that story. I have to be able to tell whomever I'm talking to, well, you know, I can trace my story back this far. That's important to me as a human being, because I don't understand the urgency of being a better human being if I don't understand the privileges that's been given to me. If I don't understand the privileges that I enjoy today, that people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and whoever else you want to say, they died for us to enjoy these privileges. So it's important to me to have that historical context, that cultural context, right? We celebrate Christopher Columbus Day because as a country, we need to have our identity. Like, to forget Christopher Columbus would be to forget the identity of the country. He is the founding father of the country, according to what they tell you. I heard about a guy named Amerigo Vespucci. I don't know. Probably should check him out too. But anyway, as a nation, we have an identity as a nation. It is important for change that we don't sweep our identities or our past identities under the rug. The White House, the most prestigious building in the United States of America, was built by slaves. The obelisks that stand right there in that little area, the Capitol area, that was built by slaves. Lincoln Monument was built by slaves. Almost the whole District of Columbia was built by slaves. We don't get the right to tell that story. I think we do. But not for hatred reasons. And I'm cautious of that shit too. I was trying not to curse in this, but sometimes I'd be, But anyway, like, I was trying to, like, okay, so look. The most important thing to do is be, like, have a motherfucking coffee filter and allow the information that you receive to filter through that, right? I'm doing that for visual effect. Let the information that you receive filter through. Don't believe everything you hear just because it's coming from a black man or somebody that seems to identify with your individual struggle, because people will misuse you. They will misuse you and purposely mislead you. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no good in hating, like, okay, so you hate me. My response to your hatred is hating you back. How am I any better than you? Like, we both some fucking idiots because we're wasting time hating each other when our whole fucking DNA structure is almost the same. The external is the only thing that's different. White people have the same heart attacks that black people have. Cows don't have the same heart attacks, so we inherently the same people. So I don't like approach, applaud, condone, or encourage no hatred. I encourage education. So I'm more concerned with the whys, right? If there's no need for critical race theory to be taught, then why was I ever viewed as 3/4 of a human being? If we don't have a race problem and there's no issues and we just making this up, why was I at one point considered 3/4 of a human being? What made me 1/4 less than you? I think that's a fair question. You feel what I'm saying? Like, why was there ever a need for the civil rights movement to start with? If it wasn't a civil rights issue, why was there a civil rights movement? And why do I not have the privilege or the luxury of educating the youth, the next generations, about the privilege of living in America, the privilege of having free education, the privilege of having the right to make your own decisions, and why those things are so important is because if you trace your generational history back, you'll discover that not all of your ancestors had those privileges. So that's the burden on the minority to get something done with your life. You feel me? But if there's no reason for critical race theory, and that's just all some shit that was made up by old girl Kimberly, I forgot her last name, respectfully forgot her last name, but if there's no need for that, right, then why was there ever a need for the civil rights movement? Why was there ever segregation in the public school system? Like, why wasn't this little black kid, at what point, what did the little black kid do to not deserve the same educational opportunities as the little white kids? Why do we have to have Brown versus the Board of Education? Why was that ever a thing if there's no such thing, right? You see what I'm saying? Even today, like, the performance gaps between white students and black students is still widening. It's not getting smaller. If the educational and performance gaps was getting smaller, then that would be a clear indication that as a nation, we are working to bridge the gaps. You see what I'm saying? No, they're getting wider. 72.4% of black students attend high poverty schools. Why? Why does only 31.3% of white students attend schools that have high poverty levels? Why? I'm just focused on the why for educational purposes. And I think the people that's focusing on the how, that's like a divisive instrument. The how is a divisive instrument because the how, it allows that hatred and whatever that energy was, that rage was that allowed lynchings and breaking into houses and everything else that was our early existence. That just works to separate us more. I'm more concerned with people understanding and being sensitive to a history. And if in that process a little shame is had by those that was responsible for that, then I think that's okay. Like, you should feel ashamed if you did something wrong. And you shouldn't try to suppress somebody else's reality because you're afraid to deal with your truth. Feel me? But I don't do it for no, like, I ain't trying to be creating none of that. I ride with me. I believe in me. I'm sitting before you because of me. I'm not sitting before you because some great group of people surrounded me and propelled me forward. No, I'm just not going to stop. I'm going to fight for what I believe in. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, if you explore the why, it's a chance that you may realize that people were unconscious of something, right? You was unconscious of the fact that you was willing to hire the white dude before you hired the black dude. You see what I'm saying? You'll be unconscious of that. You could potentially be unconscious of that. And if you are, then there's a chance to be corrected. So I feel like that's important. But if something is, like, if in the process of discussing race theory or having to teach race theory or having to just acknowledge it as a thing, if that make you don't like something that you see when you look in the mirror, then you probably gonna reject it. I think only an idiot would reject education, even if it wasn't automatically applicable to your life. It's knowledge. And you acquire knowledge to help the world become a better place. So I don't want to point the finger at nobody. The books speak for themselves. The records speak for themselves. The videos speak for themselves. The newspaper clippings speak for themselves. The museums speak for themselves. So I don't have to speak for those institutions. I just speak for me. I speak for the people that is never heard. I speak for the people that don't typically even listen to these kind of conversations because they're so preoccupied with what's going on in their neighborhood. I speak for the goldfish that swim in that fishbowl. They never see nothing else. So that's the importance of me talking about it. I think as a race, we need to heal. And from just my personal experiences, I've been through a lot of shit in my life. And I had a lot of hatred and a lot of hostility and a lot of resentment for the things that I went through. And as long as I held on to those things, I wasn't able to become a better person. Like, every time I told my story was always intertwined with how somebody hurt me and that part, you know what I mean? But when I was finally able to let that shit go and forgive the people who did what they did to me, because you got to understand something. When somebody hurts you, they know they hurt you. It don't matter what kind of fronts they put on. At some point during the course of the day, you're going to have to reflect on who you are and what you did to affect other people. So for me, I need to forgive people. Why? Because I need to move on with the rest of my fucking life. I'm not going to be held captive by what somebody did wrong to me. You know what I'm saying? And that's the same thing for blacks, the nation as a whole. Forgiveness is important because forgiveness is the gateway to healing. So for everybody who watched this episode today, I just appreciate you for tuning in, man, and just listening to what I had to say. And if you enjoyed the topic today, just like I say, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment. I love to hear your thoughts on the topic. You know what I'm saying? And my message as always is educate yourself. You know what I'm saying? And we're up out of here, man, because I got shit to do. You feel me?